You're on the air with Florenza, your podcast destination for authentic conversations with a twist. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and join me on this unique literary journey. Cheers! We're thrilled to welcome Brett Battles, the New York Times bestselling author known for his gripping spy and mystery thrillers, including the Jonathan Quinn series, as well as his science fiction thrillers. With 56 books under his belt and a prestigious Barry Award for Best Thriller, Brett has captivated readers worldwide. He's here today to discuss his latest book, Golden Hour. Please put your hands together to welcome Brett as we dive into the mind behind the masterpiece. Thank you so much, Brett, for joining me on the air with Florenza for this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, and I know it's a little early for you, which would not be too early for me, but we are going to toast to a phenomenal show.
There you go.
Yes, and you say that is flavored water.
It's just sparkling water that looks like it could be a pink martini, but it is not.
Yes,
absolutely is not at 9, whatever time it is in the morning it is.
And for my listeners, I am actually behaving today. I just have like a white cranberry. No, there's no added vodka, but thank you for asking. So I am thrilled to have you on the show to discuss your newest release, which is Stuart Wood's book called Golden Hour. Tell us about this book and what are readers to expect, especially those who are familiar with this series of stories.
Golden Hour is the Teddy Fay series, which is a spin-off series from Stuart's main Stone Barrington series, which has 66 books and counting. This is the 7th. Teddy Fay is the main character of this series, and Teddy Fay is a former CIA operative who is now living under an assumed identity as Billy Barnett, Hollywood producer. And he actually works with Stone Barrington's son, who is a Hollywood producer, and under Ben Bichetti, who runs the studio, and Ben is the son of Dino Bichetti, who's Stone Barrington's best friend. It's very incestuous, okay? So in this one, all of his books are very, the Teddy Fay books are, movie-based, Hollywood-based for the most part, then with the other things thrown on. So I wanted to do something very quintessential movie-like and send them on a press tour through Europe. So in this book, Teddy and the regular crew are out promoting Peter Barrington's latest movie that's just about to come out. Just before they leave, the CIA finds out that somebody is killing agents that were involved, CIA agents who had been involved in this one operation 25 years ago when Teddy was still in the service, and he was part of that operation. And it's happening in Europe. And so they ask him to look into it when he's using the cover of his press tour to find out what's going on and try to stop it. And so that's basically the setup of the story. And it starts in LA and it goes to Rome and to Venice and into Hungary and to not Paris. Well, a little bit in Paris. A couple of other places. It ends in Berlin. So it's a wild adventure with interesting settings and death and mayhem in the background.
Nice. Now, of all the places that you listed in the book, and it was really nice reading because almost all of those places I've been, with the exception
Hmm.
of Budapest, I believe.
Ah,
And so as I'm reading, I'm like, I was there, or I was there. Not living that large though, not
right.
having that kind of fun.
Nor would I if I was on that trip either. So, but
Strictly
yes.
tourist. Now, have you had an opportunity to visit some of those places yourself?
Yes, I've been to most of them. I actually hadn't been to Budapest until last April.
Okay.
I went with a group of friends. We went on a river cruise through Europe from started in Budapest, ended in Germany, and I was actually on the boat doing the final rewrites of the book. So I was able to go to the places that I had set the scenes in Budapest and make small adjustments to the book to more accurately reflect what I was seeing, which
Nice.
is great. At the end, it's in Berlin. I've spent several months in Berlin many years ago working. Obviously Rome, a lot of the places. So
Uh-huh.
I don't always I haven't always visited places I write about, but I try to write about places that I have as much as
Yes.
possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I love to travel, so that helps.
And that gives you a justification of saying, come on, let's go and blame it on
Absolutely.
research. What a
Uh,
privilege that is.
well, it's important. I don't even have to blame it on it. It is.
It is. Of all the places that you visited, what has been your favorite?
Oh, throughout the world?
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, I have a very soft spot for Japan. I
Oh,
love Japan.
yeah.
Love Japan so much. But I've loved a lot of places.
Hmm.
Rome is awesome. Uh, Paris is nice. Really enjoyed Amsterdam and Budapest is an amazing city, and it's cheap for Americans, or at least it was when I was there. I'm sure it still is at the moment.
Uh-huh.
But really nice people, beautiful, just gorgeous city,
Well,
gorgeous.
nice. Well, I'm
And
going to have to
yeah,
put that one on my list because,
it's worth a stop if you're in the area.
yeah, or make it happen. Now,
Right.
what was one of the unexpected was there a most unexpected part of stepping into Stuart Wood's world to write Golden Hour? And were you able to adapt any quirks that or habits that were specifically yours that you put into the character? Or since writing on this character, do you find yourself adapting some of the character's traits?
Uh, I'm sure there's a little bit of me getting in there. I mean, the idea is to try to write any of Stewart's books as if Stewart was writing them himself for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, right? Naturally, it's not going to be 100% that way, but hopefully 90%, 80, 90% that way. Um, this is the second Teddy Fay book that I've done. The first one I did when he was still alive, so there was interaction on that one. Um, and then um, and then after he passed away, I took over that, and now I'm also doing the Stone Barrington books. And uh, so I'm trying to remain faithful and also still bring a little bit of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise, I'm not sure if there was anything specifically on Golden Hour that surprised me. But what I think I do bring a little bit is that before I was published, I worked in Hollywood for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like I didn't work on films, but I worked on productions and different things, did a lot of film shoots, did a lot of things like this. So I was exposed to that. So I use some of that knowledge and expertise into that. And then I also have lots of friends who still work in the industry. So if I needed to ask questions, I have people I can ask questions of. So that's kind of how, with the Teddy Faith series, how I help out. And I used to write, or I didn't used to, I still write my own spy novels.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like the perfect combination for me with Teddy Fay because he's a former spy and now works in Hollywood. And I was formerly worked in Hollywood, and now I write spy novels, among other things. So it was like perfect fit. So
Now tell me, especially one that's new to um, the books, the series,
mhm.
about what that interaction was for you for the previous book that you did with Stewart, and what brought about the culmination of your writing skill and the story that he had developed that had run for so long for
Mhm.
you to be the one to carry the mantle, if you will.
Uh, some of it is just being the person there at the time. Um, the first book I wrote with him was Obsession. So I worked with him on that. Mainly it was it was like going digital communications and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Um, and the reason I got involved in that in the first place was that series always had a co-writer. The first four were written by one person, the fifth by another, and then they were looking for a new writer. They came to my agent. They knew my background, um, and I did a little trial for them, showing how I would do it. They hired me to co-write that books. So that's what I did. And again, it was mostly digital communication. Then I turned that book in um, 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks before the final of it, minus any editorial last minute editorial notes, 2 weeks before he passed away. And I honestly thought that was going to be the last thing I did in the Stuart
Uh-huh.
Woods world because he
Right.
passed away, right? And then in October, this was in July, but then in October, my agent got a call and said, "Hey, it turns out that Stewart was in the middle of writing the next Stone Barrington novel, which was near miss, and we'd like Brett to finish it if he's willing to do that."
Uh-huh.
And they gave me a very short window in time that I had to finish it. But of course, I wasn't going to say no to that.
Right,
So
right.
that, in effect, was our second co-written book, though I came on after he had passed away. And and then from there we've gone. I did Smolder, which came out last summer, and then Golden Hour. I just finished the draft of Finders Keepers, which comes out in June. And literally 20 minutes before I got on this call for you, I got the editorial notes back. So for the next day or two, I'll be addressing those. But that's basically done. And then it's going to be on to the next Teddy Fay novel that I'll start writing for I assume next December. So
Uh-huh.
we don't have a date for that yet.
Is there something that you do physically that allows you to jump from the characters with Teddy
Mhm.
Faye into your main characters? Is there
Right.
something that you do, like put on a
Well,
hat or some glasses or put on some
if I'm
music?
working, if I tend to work in coffee shops
Okay.
because I like to have the chaos around me, but I have
Uh-huh.
my earphones in. I'm not hearing anything that's going on, but it's nice. I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
If I'm at home, there's far too many distractions. I got TV, I got a bed I can take a nap on. I
Yeah.
got, things I could do.
Walk the
My
puppy.
PlayStation, who knows what, right? I can do all sorts of things that's not writing. So I make myself, it's very regimented. First thing when I get up in the morning is I go to the coffee shop and I get up early and I'm at the coffee shop when it opens at 5 or 6 a.m. And and if I'm working on two books on the same day, which doesn't happen that often, but occasionally does,
Uh-huh.
I will change locations between books. So that when I get to the next location, it's like, okay, I'm going to work on this one now. I won't switch books at the same location. That doesn't mean the next day I couldn't work on that other book in the same location I was at this morning, the next
Uh-huh.
morning.
Uh-huh.
It just means I just need a physical break between
Yeah.
them, however it is. And for the most part, it works pretty well. I mean, our styles are a bit different,
Okay.
but yeah.
Do you ever find the characters of something that's yours protesting that your time is being split between the
Uh,
two?
a quite, not just the characters, but the fans of my own books are a little bit miffed with me at times because the Stuart Woods books they're currently taking up a majority of my time, which
Uh-huh.
is, it's great.
Yeah.
And I am happy to be aboard that. So I'm squeezing my other books in an hour here or 2 hours there
Uh-huh.
when I can, which just means it's a longer time between those coming out. It is what it is, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that at this moment. I wish I could clone myself so I could do both at the same time. That would be a much better solution, but
Uh-huh.
technology not quite there yet, I think.
Yeah. What has been the most satisfying aspect of being on this dual journey for you?
Um, Satisfying. Well, I think working with some new people now at Putnam, which is very interesting and satisfying, getting other people's input into my work. Uh, Making the New York Times bestseller list was very satisfying.
Hello.
Uh, that was very nice. And I absolutely know I was riding on Stuart's coattails to get there, and Beth
Uh-huh.
totally admit that, but I'm still taking it.
Yes.
And that's been good. Uh, for several years, a lot of my work has been mainly ebooks in the
Hmm.
past 10 years. Done very, very, very well in that area with a lot of my books, although you can get them all in print, but it's all online.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's nice to get some of my books back in bookstores.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah.
How has your unique style of writing changed with implementing now these dual projects?
That's actually an excellent question because um, Stuart Wood's books, I mean, his style is very sparse, very light on descriptions and details. It's like boom, 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 dialogue heavy. Like, a lot of times without the dialogue tags, just go, 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 joke, 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 joke. A lot of times, a lot of all of that stuff happening. My books are also, I have jokes in them, but they're more natural
Hmm.
in well, not more natural. His are natural. It's just a
I
different
gotcha.
world
Hmm.
and how they're prepared, how they're portrayed. But I also am a lot more detailed in my
Hmm.
books of settings. I will describe the rooms in much more detail or the locations because mine are spies
Producer.
who are
Right.
doing these kind of things and stuff. But I have found when I do some of my books, I find where I can be a little more sparse than I used to be and still get a point my cross or
Hmm.
get across my point. And so that's been actually a really interesting. It's been making me take a look at everything as I'm writing and going, do I really need this or not? More than I have in the past.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What are the listeners able to expect moving forward?
I know what I want to do with the next book. I've actually started it a little bit. I'm actually I want to write two books that are basically the same book for the first chapter, and then something happens. And it happens one way and the story goes this way, but it happens
Ooh.
another way in this one, so the story goes this way. And so I'm going to kind of create an alternate universe,
Uh-huh.
like a branch off series,
Uh-huh.
alternate universe with the same characters, and then still keeping the regular series going forward. The other one is just for me. It's more fun. It gets into some like sci-fi fantastical elements eventually,
Yeah.
but because I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still will keep the traditional spy series moving forward. Um, so those are, I mean, actually the branch off book is I've already got almost 90,000 words written on that one.
Uh-huh.
It still needs a lot of massaging, and I want to write this one, the straight ahead book first before I release. So I release them both at the same time and people can compare them. But yeah, so I've got that. I've got a couple of standalones, like present day sci-fi kind of thing alternate university kind of book that's about 60% done. I have a romance that's like 30% done. So, and I have ideas for all these others. I just, again, clones would be helpful, but
Nice.
I just don't have time to hit them all, but I will. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because they're all, they're all very important to me and things that I don't want to lose sight of. So,
I love that you've not pigeonholed your creativity and you allow all these aspects of who Brett is to find space and to flourish. And that's so commendable during a
thanks.
time in which, as writers, we feel that in order to be successful, we have to narrow our skill set to fit into this little thimble,
Right.
right? And to concentrate it down to what's acceptable. And how pleasing it is to hear that you are saying, no, these are all the aspects of who I am, and they may not all be born in one space, but they will come to fruition
Right.
and they will have their space creatively, and that's phenomenal.
Well, I think part of that is um, uh, we actually as writers are in a better spot now to be able to do that than
Yeah.
any other time.
Yes.
When I first sold my book, and my first book came out in 2007, I sold my book. It was the fourth book, well, actually the third book I'd written, but it was after I had already written the fourth by the time it sold. My first book was a um, urban fantasy book. My second book was a present day sci-fi book. My third book was the first Jonathan Quinn spy thriller. My fourth book was a lit novel. It all depended on which novel. If one of these other ones sold, that would be the type of writer I would have been pigeonholed into at
Mm-hmm.
that time, because that's, everyone from about 2008 prior, um, that was it. You get in on this, it's very hard unless you go into like pseudonyms and whatever. People
Right.
still
That was
do
going to
that,
say,
but
yeah, pen
yeah,
names and
you
such.
have to do something like that. But with the advent of being able to independently publish, for
Yes.
instance, um, which is what I was with Random House for my first five books, but then that was back in 2010 when everything was going
Yeah.
crazy, and then I didn't get renewed. The people who had been my supporters there had been either left or early retired,
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't have any people there. So instead of going to another publisher for many years, I was independently
Yeah.
published, and that allowed me to. I still continued my Quinn series. I did some spinoffs from my Quinn series. I wrote an entire apocalyptic series. I wrote a trilogy time travel series.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. A present day time travel
Uh-huh.
series, which is a lot of fun. And I wrote standalone sci-fi. I wrote a lit novel. All sorts of things that I wrote. I was able to do beyond just sticking to the spy stuff, which I also enjoy.
Yeah.
Most of my books are still within that territory because it's the 15 Quinn books. There's two spin-off series, and one of them has four books. The other one has three. At this point, there'll be at least a fourth, probably more on that one. Um, and now, with the Stewart's books, those are more suspense,
Yeah.
humor, suspense, thriller kind of books. So I'm still within that, and I'm still doing the other stuff on my own too, which is
So
I'm
when do you
glad
find time
I
to
can.
sleep is the question.
Yeah, well, yeah, that sometimes will be a problem, but you know, what do they say? We sleep when we die, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? That's my saying. I'm telling you, that's my saying. Where are the listeners able to engage with you and find out
Hmm.
more about what you're doing in
Sure.
all aspects?
Sure. Well, obviously I have a website, brettbattles.com. That's the easiest. I'm author Brett Battles on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on Threads now, and I don't remember what my handle on Threads is, and on Blue Sky now.
Uh-huh.
Um, and those are the main places.
Okay.
I'm on TikTok, but I just watch everybody else. I don't really post much
Yeah,
there.
me either. I haven't gotten there yet. So tell me,
It's
before
fun.
we get into our one for the road, what does Brett do for fun? I know that you have fun writing, so let me just
I
say
do.
that because I
I
don't want
do.
that to be the response. What is a typical day or a not typical day of you having the most fun? We would normally say self-care day, but not
Okay.
so much from that.
Total self-care day. I um I I have a kind of a schedule that I live every day. And when somebody you know, short notice upsets my schedule, it throws me off.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I have this, I work and then I have the thing that gives me nice and comfort in the evening. And what I do is I've become, since the pandemic, I've become this huge fan of K-dramas,
Ooh.
Korean dramas.
Yes, of course. Uh-huh.
And, and I've probably watched nearly 100 series by this point,
Uh-huh.
maybe more. And so every night for an hour or two, I'll watch the next episode of whichever series I'm watching. I'm usually watching 2 or 3 series at the same time. They're not all out on the same night, but
Uh-huh.
um, so yeah, I'm totally into that.
So it
It
gives
gives
your
me
brain
wonderful, it gives
something
me
else to
great
do.
comfort and I really enjoy it. So
Nice. So we've come to the part of our show that I call one for the road. And I'm just going to ask you two options. So let's see. Do you prefer focusing on intricate plot twists or deeply exploring characters' inner worlds?
I huh. Character is everything for a
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that intricate plot twists come from diving into characters' inner worlds,
Yeah. Do
really. And
you
I'll concentrate on the characters, and they will lead me to what'll happen.
totally not what we're supposed to be doing, but do you find that your characters speak to you
Oh
even
yeah.
long after the book is done, or do they
Oh
come to
sure.
you and say,
Yeah,
you
they're
really
pissed
should have
sometimes.
said, why did
Why
you put
did
me in that situation?
Yeah. Or I cut him out of a scene. I have to apologize. Yeah.
Do you find yourself like having this moment of mourning when you cut out a character or cut out a part of their life?
Yeah, and I try to think, where can I put it in somewhere else or give it to somebody else or something because I feel bad.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. Which do you prefer, your standalone stories or the series?
Well, I have probably 5 or less standalones, and the other 45 of novels of mine, or including the ones I've done with Stuart now, I think I'm close to 50 books total at this point, maybe a little over, are all series.
Mm,
So it's hard for me to let go of a
hmm.
character or a group of characters. I have always been the person who enjoys, what happens next.
Hmm.
I always want that sequel to that novel, even though I know a novel, some novels should and stand alone and not have another. I'm still like, well, what happens next?
Yeah.
What happens next?
And that's great that you question that because it's going to always keep you intrigued and keep you
Yeah.
curious. And that keeps us satisfied as listeners. Oh my gosh, Brett, this has been so much fun. Thank you
Oh,
so much
good.
for
I had a
joining
great
me.
time. I've had a great time.
And this
Awesome.
wraps up another episode of On the Air with Florenza. You may follow me on all social media platforms under Florenza Lee or via my website at florenza.org. Until next time.